Hello amazing leaders, and welcome to day 51 of the amazing 90-day challenge. So how are you getting on with your challenges? Are you still keeping up with them? Have you started something new yet? Are you pleased with what you chose, or do you wish you chose something more easier or maybe something harder, so that you could really challenge yourself? Whatever it is you're doing or whatever it is you want to do, write it down, keep track of it, maybe record a diary like this as well, maybe create a podcast around it. Whatever it is, make sure that you know exactly that you're on track and that you're going to complete the 90-day challenge, because we're getting closer and closer every single day now. So today on the Habits to Master mini-series, we're going to look at how many priorities do you have. Now, as an amazing leader, we all have different priorities and different things pulling on our attention from all different angles. So do you sometimes feel overwhelmed by how much you have to do? My guess is that you probably do. So let's look at how we can tackle that by looking at the different priorities that we have. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. So how does some people seem to get more done than others maybe? Let's look into that by using these helpful little tips and habits to master, so that we can try and better ourselves and be more focused as we go through our days to be able to get through our priorities. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is actually to try and set fewer priorities. But the key is you've got to stick to them. So it sounds counterintuitive to set fewer priorities, and it is a little bit. But what happens is if we try and spend all of our time doing everything all at once, we often end up getting nothing done, or things getting done to a different standard than we really should. So I want you just to pick your top 2 priorities for today. What have you got to get done by the end of the day? No matter what happens, you've got to do them. Think of 2, and I know that's hard. You might have a list of 10 or 20 or 200, whatever it might be. But today, you've got a certain number of hours in your day. What top 2 are you going to pick that come tomorrow, you know that they're done? And with those top 2, I want you to put a priority, the first one and a second one. And then I want you to estimate how much time in total do you think it will take for you to complete the first task and the first priority and the second one as well. And you can write that down in number of hours or minutes, or what you can do is you can draw a little circle and keep doing that for the number of circles you think it might do or take you to do that task, and each circle will represent a 30-minute block. Okay, so for example, if you think that priority task number 1 is going to take you 2 hours, you're going to draw 4 small circles next to that priority task, and then that will give you the 4 blocks of 30 minutes to create your 2 hours. And if you think task number 2 is going to then give you take you an hour and a half, you might draw 3 small circles next to that. Now don't colour them in yet, that's really important. You're just going to draw an open circle. That's your estimated time for those 2 priorities, 2 hours for the first one and an hour and a half for the second one. Now you might be saying, well, why isn't it 8 hours in total or 10 hours in total or whatever it might be? Because the reality is, as an amazing leader, unless you're locked away in a log cabin somewhere in the woods without Wi-Fi connection and telephone reception, you're probably going to get interrupted. You've probably got other things that you've got to do today around these top 2 priorities. So I just want you to set something that's realistic, something that you can achieve, but is also going to take you time to focus on it. So start with the top priority, the first one that you have you've set for yourself that you've got to get done today no matter what. And then those circles of 30 minutes is what the Pomodoro technique that we've spoken about in the past is all about. And just a quick recap on that, it's to set your tomato timer. It's the Italian word for tomato is Pomodoro, and you're setting it for 25 minutes to start with, not 30 minutes. Start that timer off and just focus on the task. Turn everything else off, all distractions, all pings and dings and pop-up messages, and put a sign on your door saying please do not interrupt unless the building's on fire, and focus on that task for 25 minutes. When the timer goes off, whether it's your tomato timer that you've grabbed from the kitchen, or whether it's a timer on your phone or on your computer, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what the timer is, so don't focus on that. Just set a timer that you know when 25 minutes is up. Complete where you're at and then have a 5-minute break. Okay, and that's really important. distract yourself from something. Don't do a similar task in the 5 minutes. So if you've been working on a Word document, then don't then go to your emails, because that's a similar task. Get up, move around, grab a glass of water, maybe a healthy snack, just for 5 minutes, and then get back to the same task again. And once you've done that first one, colour in the first circle that you put next to that task of your estimated number of circles and time you think it's going to take to complete that task. Keep going in 30-minute blocks, 25 minutes on the task, focus, really hard focus on it, and then 5 minutes off. And keep colouring in your Pomodoro circles as you go through. It's really important you don't start the next task, the next priority, until you've completed that first one. Otherwise, you're trying to multitask and your brain's doing different things. It's a lot better, more efficient for you to focus on getting that first task done completely and then move on to the next task. Now, if you've got time somehow to do more than 2 tasks, then by all means go on to a 3rd and 4th and 5th task if you can, but not at the cost of not completing task number 1 or task number 2. So make sure you set in those top 2 priorities for tasks that you can complete today. If you know you've got to wait for somebody else to come back to you before you can complete one of those, then set that for another day. Maybe send a quick reminder to that person that you're waiting on some information for them, so that can be your task or priority for tomorrow. But only set yourself tasks that you know you're going to be able to complete today, otherwise it's a bit of a waste of time potentially. Once you've done that first task, go on to the second one, keep going till you do the circles. You're colouring those in for every 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes rest, and then see how close you got to your estimated time. You might need to draw some more circles, or you might have some circles that aren't coloured in, so that you can see that actually it only took me an hour and a half, not 2 hours to do that first task. Or the second task, it took me 2.5 hours, not an hour and a half. And then think, why did that happen? Why did it take you longer than you thought or shorter than you thought? And what happens is, if you keep doing this every single day, because these are habits to master, then you're going to get a lot better at estimating the time that it's going to take you to be able to complete many number of different priorities that you have over the coming days and weeks and months. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you'll have an amazing day. And remember, why be average when you can be amazing?